Oh, was heißt guten Tag auf Holländisch?
Oh, guten Tag. Oh, crumbs, I don't know. More formal, I mean, hoe gaat het? But that's a little bit more slang.
Okay, so hello on Dutch?
Yeah, hello.
Hello is international, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, hello. Hello from Breda in the Netherlands. Hier ist der Oliver Kreipe von Airtours and Friends und ich sage herzlich willkommen zu allen Zuhörerinnen und Zuhörern. Wir sind heute auf einer U-Boot-Werft bei U-Boat Works in Breda in der Nähe von Rotterdam, wo gerade die U-Boote von uns besichtigt werden, die Seabourn Expeditionsschiffe mit an Bord haben werden. Jeweils 2 an Bord der Venture und 2 an Bord der Pursuit. Und ich sitze hier mit Robin West und ich gehe wieder zurück auf Englisch. Hello Robin.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
So Robin, yeah, so we just saw the new submarines for Seabourn, who were used by Seabourn for the new ship Venture, which was starting operations last year. It's the new expedition ship.
Correct. So last year we launched Seabourn Venture, and we have 2 of the U-Boat Works submarines on board Venture.
Yeah, and so the next cruise ship will be the Pursuit, or then at the end of this year.
Correct. So Seabourn Pursuit will launch somewhere around about August, but it'll start its first real expedition operations probably somewhere around about October. And the 2 submarines you see here today at U-Boat Works, subs, what we refer to as 713, 714, those will be going on to Seabourn Pursuit.
Okay. So why is it important to offer a submarine expedition or it's not a submarine expedition, submarine experience on a cruise ship today? What do you mean? Is it a demand by the luxury traveler to have more once in a lifetime experiences?
So it's a little bit of that. You know, the expedition industry is about delivering experiences.
Yeah.
We're going to very remote areas of the world, some places that very few people ever get to see. And, you know, the submarines were really almost like a next level natural fit though, because the expedition industry and the expedition segment is really about educating people about the world and about remote destinations. And so all of a sudden we've created a new platform with which to educate people. So beyond, you know, snorkeling or scuba diving, beyond taking guided hikes with the teams, now you can get in a submarine with a guide, go down to 200-300 meters, and you're learning about an entirely new world, and a world that probably no one's ever seen. So it's a great educational component, and from an environmental standpoint, the submarines are unbelievably environmentally friendly in terms of battery powered, rechargeable, very, very little noise, underwater noise. So you're entering this quiet realm in a very, very eco-friendly way.
Yeah. So do the cruise ships as well. So they are quite new ships with the newest technology on board. So you have the positioning systems. You don't have to anchor in very fragile areas. So can you explain about this positioning system?
Yeah, for sure. So as a company, we made a choice also to burn what's called marine gas oil. So marine gas oil is kind of the most environmentally fossil fuel. And we don't have to burn it 365 days a year. It's twice the price of what's called heavy fuel.
Yeah.
But from an environmental standpoint, we chose to use marine gas oil on board the vessel 365 days a year. Beyond that, yes, the vessel has what's called dynamic positioning system. And so what that means is when we're operating in environmentally sensitive areas, we never ever have to drop anchor. The system allows the vessel to stay in one position by using the ship's engines and ozypods and thrusters. And it prevents us from dropping the anchor and damaging any sensitive environment. So it really does allow us to kind of tread much lighter as we move through different areas in the world.
Okay, interesting. So you know everything about the new ships, because so you were on the process of planning from right from the start of the planning process for the new Venture and Pursuit. But how do you came to this title, Vice President of Expeditions? So how do you come to the business of cruise shipping? Because you come from Port Elizabeth and you run your own business in South Africa.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm from South Africa, from Port Elizabeth, and for a number of years I used to have 2 businesses on the garden route in South Africa.
On what?
In the garden route.
The garden route.
The garden route in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 paddy dive centers where we did dive courses, dive charters, retail. And then coupled with that, I also had outdoor adventure centers, we did kayaking, canoe safaris, abseiling, rap jumping, and we had a lot of outdoor kind of activities. And basically, I had a guy walk into my shop one day, and based on the skill set that I had, I was perfect for the expedition industry. And so he was looking for really just a Zodiac driver, dive master for a South Pacific season. So he walked in my shop, said, "Are you interested?" I said, "Yes." Next day, we had an interview. That afternoon, we booked the flights, and I think a month later, I flew to South America and jumped on an expedition ship, and then set sail across the Pacific for 2 months. And after that, I was sold. For me, it was unbelievable. I got to obviously see all these remote areas, drive Zodiacs. I then came back. I got invited back for an Antarctic season, another South Pacific season, and after that, I came back to South Africa, sold my businesses, and got into the expedition industry permanently. So I've been on expedition ships since 2002.
Yeah. But it wasn't Seabourn all the time.
No. It was other companies. So I was working for different companies as a contractor, and then in 2013, Seabourn reached out to me.
You jumped on board Seabourn,
I was working for another company at the time. They reached out and said, "Would you like to come and lead our first trips down to Antarctica on Seabourn Quest?" And so I did, and then they offered me a full-time job after that. And so I've been with Seabourn ever since 2013. And we kind of had the Antarctic season on Quest every year, and then we also developed what's called a Ventures by Seabourn program, which was similar to an expedition operation, but on a smaller scale, with Zodiacs, kayaks, and hiking. We do that on the rest of the fleet in multiple areas around the world, from Northern Europe, Iceland, Greenland, Alaska, across the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, and that's been very successful. And in fact, all of that resulted in us moving into the expedition segment. To build and design 2 purpose ultra-luxury expedition ships.
So the venture excursions or expeditions there was on the whole fleet, like also the Odyssey, let's name it, or Ovation. And if you've been to Alaska, maybe you do Zodiacs as well on these. But they are, despite the other tours, they are on an extra charge base.
Correct. So the Ventures by Seabourn program, which is very different to how we run the expedition ships. The Ventures by Seabourn program is like any other Shorex offering on a cruise ship. It's a for charge, optional. So guests pay to go to Zodiac cruise, they pay to go kayaking, and they pay to go hiking. So it's a revenue driven program on our cruise vessels or our ocean fleet. And so guests may go on a Zodiac tour in Alaska, and we have an expedition team on board. So the expedition team still delivers a very similar product in terms of lectures. They take you on Zodiac tours, kayaking, and that's been very successful with our guests and with our program worldwide. And then, of course, through that success, we decided to build 2 dedicated expedition vessels where the Zodiac experience, Zodiac landing, Zodiac tours, that's all included and is part of the expedition product because it's a dedicated expedition ship.
But you've been to Antarctica before with the Quest, but the Quest doesn't have the PC6 ice class.
Correct.
But it did work as well.
100%. So Quest was taken out of service prior to 2013, and it had the hull reinforced. So the hull has been strengthened to be able to safely operate in Antarctica.
I see.
The hull doesn't have the same strength as
the new
Venture or Pursuit, but it meets all the polar IMO regulations to be able to operate there in terms of the strengthened hull.
And it can deal with summer ice.
It can deal with ice and ice conditions and operations. And it delivers an incredible experience, the Quest down in Antarctica. But when you build 2 purpose vessels, they can deliver a slightly different experience down in Antarctica.
So what was the most important thing on building these new vessels?
For me, the most important thing on building these 2 expedition vessels was to design a true, because there's a lot of companies out there that say they're luxury and they have aspects of luxury. But they don't have luxury that is from start to finish in the entire product. So we designed 2 purpose-built ultra-luxury expedition vessels. If you look at our guest-to-team member ratio, if you look at the guest-to-space ratio, if you look at the amount of open deck space we have, the Zodiacs, the size of the expedition team, if you come on board Venture or Pursuit, you will see we're in a different category in terms of the luxury, the space, the product, the food, the service, the team members. It's an incredible product. And for me, I wanted to design an expedition vessel that had an incredible onboard luxury experience, but could at any moment deliver a true off-ship expedition experience as well. I didn't want to compromise in the two.
Let's start with the onboard experience. So maybe the bow lounge and the screens and the camera on the top of the mast. Yeah. So can you explain about these special items?
For sure. So, when we built the two expedition ships, we weren't the first to build new expedition ships. In fact, we were probably at the back end of the let's say the expedition boom.
Yeah.
So we really, before we finished building our vessel, before we started actually, we did a very deep dive into the competitive set. And so we've designed a few things that other ships don't have. One of them is an in-suite heated gear locker for every single suite on board the vessel to be able to dry your gear in between landings. So we also...
Gear means all the clothing and everything.
Yeah, so the outdoor gear, the puff jackets, the waterproof pants and all that kind of stuff.
It's fancy, yeah.
Yeah, and we also designed, we're probably the only ship in the world that has what we call a bow lounge. The bow lounge is right where guests would go out onto the bow. And from the bow, you sometimes have some of your best viewing experiences.
Da muss ich mal ganz kurz übersetzen, liebe Gäste. Der Bow ist der Bug, hinten Heck, vorne Bug, und das ist der Bow, yeah.
And we have a very large bow that can accommodate all the guests, and that's where you get great wildlife encounters. It's also where when you watch the ship move through the ice, so it's quite a popular area. So I wanted to design a space that complemented that. You've been outside, you've had this incredible wildlife encounter through the ice, whales, whatever it might have been. You come back inside, you grab a nice cup of hot chocolate or tea or coffee, and then we have a virtual bridge. So it almost looks identical to the bridge of the vessel. We've got 3 consoles, and in each console are 4 screens, identical to the screens on the bridge. And in real time, what the officers are seeing, our guests are seeing. So you can see the ECDIS navigational charts, you can see the radar, you can see the bridge wing information. And on the 4th screen, that is connected to the outside cameras, and one in particular, what we call the Cineflex GSS camera. It's a 4K camera that it's got a 1228 millimeter zoom. It can zoom in onto a polar bear from about 2 miles away and deliver that image onto every single piece of glass TV on board. So a guest can be in their suite and can have that experience in their suite. So built into the console, we have iPads, so to give you an idea of how the idea behind it would work is, you'd have been outside, we were ice cruising, we saw something, you come back inside, the captain might make an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading over in this direction, we're going to go look for some more ice. You can straight away go on the iPad, you can zoom in, look at the ice chart, look at the ice conditions, you can look at the latest weather forecast for the afternoon, you can go in and have a look at, for example, if we're going to Cooperville Island in the afternoon, you can go in, pull up Cooperville Island, you can look at the site guidelines, wildlife guidelines, watching guidelines. It's got multiple weather apps, and so it's an informative area where guests can learn about everything that's happening off the ship and be engaged in almost like the operational aspects of it. Members of the expedition team are there too with actual paper charts. And of course we have the digital charts on the screen.
Where do I get the iPads?
The iPads are built into the console. So you've got this big console.
What you mean with the iPad? Okay.
Yeah, so you've got a big console where all the TV screens are built in.
Okay, I just thought of mobile iPads.
So the iPads are built into the console. There's 4 of them.
Okay.
So you can stand at the console and you can have a look at all the screens. You can see where we're going, the radar.
Yeah.
And we also have an ice radar. So you can see really what the ice conditions look like. And then while you're looking at that, you can actually engage with the iPads.
Yeah. So to repeat it slowly. So you are allowed to walk to the bow area, which is...
you have access to the outside bow.
Yeah, which is mainly only allowed for the staff. So you can see if you cross the ice, if you break the ice, which is very interesting. And the sound of the ice breaking is great, yeah. And so and the bow lounge allows you to see the same things. So it's a copy of the screens which the captain sees or the navigators see on the bridge.
Correct. It's a copy and paste of the navigational, radar, all the screens that the officers are seeing on the bridge.
Yeah.
You're seeing that in the bow lounge, but in real time. Cool. There's no delays or last week's imagery, so it kind of
sure.
It's all real life time of what's happening on the vessel.
Okay.
So it's a great way for the guest to engage. And then of course, if that's not enough, we also have an open bridge policy. So guests are welcome to go up to the bridge and spend some time with the officers and actually see what that experience is like too.
Wow. Anything else which is because you have itineraries starting from 14 days to 46 days. So if you spend 46 days on an expedition cruise vessel, which is a bit smaller than a normal vessel, yeah.
Correct.
So what is the space of the cabins? Is there you have in separate spa area?
Correct.
And so what is the most important thing you think for guests spending time on the ship?
I think for our guests that come with us on Seabourn, I think it's a mixture. And that's why we've also built a ship that has large suites, great amenities, a lot of public spaces. We also have a fantastic onboard entertainment program. So we have a cruise director that performs. We have probably 4 or 5 entertainers on board the vessel in terms of singers or piano players. And so what you're saying is probably correct. Up until a couple of years ago, spending a long time on an expedition vessel wasn't that easy because they tended to be quite small, they didn't have a lot of amenities, there wasn't a lot of great on-board service. That's very different with the ships we've built. We've got an entire aft section of the vessel which is nothing dedicated to a huge spa services, gym, yoga studios. We have entertainment on board, and the ship is beautiful. I mean, to some extent on board Venture and Pursuit, you could come on a 10-day Antarctica sailing with us, or a 2-week sailing in Greenland or somewhere with us. And even if you didn't want to get off the ship ever, you would still have an incredible time just being on board the vessel.
Yeah.
We have designed a vessel that really allows people to enjoy their time on board.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
It's not just the expedition, it's all about the expedition, but we built an extremely comfortable ship to enjoy the ship as well.
Yeah, because sometimes you have 3 to 4 sea days in
Correct,
between.
for sure.
Yeah, and it could be very boring. I know that. Yeah.
It can. It doesn't have to be though. We've with the onboard lecturing program, and what's interesting is sometimes on expedition ships the pace can be quite quick.
Yeah.
You're today 2 landings, tomorrow 2 landings. What's interesting sometimes is when you have that day and a half at sea, guests are like, oh, finally got a chance to actually just relax and enjoy the ship.
Yeah.
So often we have guests who are like with us because of the first 2 days crossing the Drake, everyone's excited and it's out on deck and it's wildlife and it's birds and it's this and it's whales. And sometimes those 2 sea days leaving Antarctica, guests are always like, oh, now I can actually for the first time relax a little bit because they are kept quite busy on board.
Have you ever experienced the Drake passage like it could be?
So I've experienced the Drake I've experienced the Drake flat.
Yeah.
I've experienced the Drake bad, and I've experienced it very bad.
Yeah.
Look, the thing is, things have also changed these days. The weather forecasts. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and in the first 5 or 7 years of my time on expedition ships, the weather forecast wasn't quite as accurate as what it is today.
Yeah, I see.
It's a very different situation today. Today, and this is kind of across the board. Expedition vessels, they look at the weather constantly. If they see a big system coming through the Drake Passage, they leave early from the peninsula, or they wait 12 hours, leave in Ushuaia, because many times it's not like you have to wait days.
Yeah.
The difference between a bad day in the Drake and a relatively nice crossing is only about 12 or 16 hours. And so many ships, you will see that now, many ships might sail to the end of the Beagle Channel and wait 12 hours, let the worst pass, and they move.
Yeah.
It's
at Puerto Williams or
Puerto Williams too, but it's nowadays this
But
we didn't know the weather was going to be bad.
But sometimes you have to cross it because it takes maybe 1 week or longer.
Some days you do have to go across and it's a bit bumpier. Look, it's not unsafe for the vessel.
Yeah.
The vessel can handle the conditions that the Drake Passage throw at it.
Yeah, sure.
It's the guests on board. You're trying to have them have the best, safe possible experience. And so that's why you're sometimes leaving early, leaving later to kind of make it as comfortable as possible.
Absolutely.
But there are times where you go through and it can be rough.
Oh. Okay. So we had the onboard experience. So let's leave the ships and go off board. What is yeah, just talk about the experience, because we just have 20 minutes, but we can put 10 minutes on.
No worries,
it's
no worries.
Interesting, yeah.
So on Seabourn Venture, we built her with quite a few what we were kind of toys, so to speak. So we have 24 Zodiacs on board the vessel, and we have also a fleet of kayaks. We have snorkeling equipment. We have scuba diving, and we also have, of course, the 2 submarines on board. So, you know, if we're operating a typical day in Antarctica, we might be doing a landing with the guests. We have a group going out kayaking, and we might be doing 5 or 6 submarine dives. We then pack up the operation, we reposition during lunch. After lunch, we might be doing a Zodiac tour, we might be doing more kayaking. So there's multiple activities happening all the time. When Pursuit, for example, heads into the Pacific and moves across the Pacific, you know, the submarine will be out diving, we'll have kayakers, we'll have snorkelers, we'll have scuba diving. There'll be a lot going on. So we designed the vessel also to really, I guess when we get to a destination, explore that destination in many different ways, from guided hikes with the ornithologist for the keen birders, maybe a beachcombing walk with the marine biologists, maybe you're out snorkeling because that's your level of interest, the scuba divers are out diving with the dive master, we've got the submarines going down maybe to 200-300 meters exploring parts of the reef that no one's ever seen. And then of course, you know, in those typical itineraries too, we might also look at a morning activity where everyone's involved in a cultural experience, visiting a village, taking part in a carver ceremony or things like that. So, and that's where the large expedition team comes in too. You know, we need a team of 24 expedition staff, and that's important when you're picking an expedition vessel too. You know, when you have a large team, that guest to expedition team, like we have a guest to expedition team ratio of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And so that team allows multiple activities to be delivered at the same time. And that's really quite important.
130 cabins, 260 guests.
Correct.
Apart from Antarctica, we're allowed only to take 200 because of landings?
No, you can take more than 200 in Antarctica and still land. So in Antarctica, it's broken up in what's called Category 1, Category 2. So a Category 1 vessel is anything under 190, anything under 200, and a Category 2 is 200 to 500. If you're 500, you can only do cruise only.
Yeah.
But, for example, you can't take 100 guests, more than 100 guests ashore at any one time.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So you can't take more than 100 guests ashore at any one time. But we take 260 guests to Antarctica.
Okay.
And then we divide the guests into 3 groups. And we do rotations.
Because I just know the 2 group stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the 100 passengers ashore, which is the driving factor with the group sizes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is your favorite destination? Your favorite port of call, or maybe not a port, maybe a land stripe somewhere in the world? So
I have 2.
Yeah.
2 quite different. One we currently go to, and one I want to go to in the future with the vessels.
Yeah.
So right now, for me, visiting South Georgia.
Südgeorgien, yeah?
Yeah, South Georgia, coming ashore at places like Gold Harbor, St. Andrews, Salisbury Plain. To come ashore and witness 200,000 pairs of king penguins and to see that is, I think probably for many expedition staff, I think out of every 10 expedition staff here to interview, probably 8 would say South Georgia.
Yeah.
It's an incredible destination in terms of what it delivers from a wildlife perspective and a natural history perspective. Another place in the world that I absolutely love, in the Indian Ocean, belongs to the Seychelles, closer to Madagascar. It's a place called El Dabra.
I know.
El Dabra is this atoll. It's about 7 miles across, and it's basically the tropical equivalent of South Georgia.
Yeah.
You come ashore, I mean, the Zodiac ride across the reef, rays, sharks, turtles. You come ashore, 100,000 giant El Dabra tortoises. You go Zodiac cruising in Johnny's Passage. You've got all the mangroves with the boobies and the frigate birds nesting. We do a drift snorkel through Johnny's Passage, which is probably one of the most incredible drift snorkels you'll do anywhere in the world.
So this is Aldebra auf Deutsch, but it's so remote from the seashells. As you said, it's more or less nearer to
it's closer
to Madagascar than, but it still belongs to the Seychelles.
It belongs to
the
Seychelles.
So it's 1 or 2 sea days to go there from.
Yeah, well, it's so typically what you would do is on an Indian Ocean sailing.
Yeah.
You would be coming from another island close by, one of them, I think it's a Stove or one of the other ones which are part of the El Dabra group.
Yeah.
And so you're not going from Mahe directly there.
So it's a different itinerary.
So it's not like you're having to go 3 days to get there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But what is typical is that when you get there, you tend to spend 2 full days there because there's so much on offer.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you tend to have one day where you're visiting the island and the station and then snorkeling. The next day, Zodiac tour. So you get to see a bit more of the interior because the lagoon on the inside and is, you know, when you wake up there at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's like a squadron of aeroplanes leaving the island as all the boobies and frigate birds leave, and then in the evening they all return. It's special to see.
Okay, cool. And what is your favorite cruise for this? So the season for next year is open to book, of course. What is your favorite cruise? Is it the Northwest Passage maybe, or is it a different one?
I think for me, I'm looking forward to taking guests to the Kimberley.
To the Kimberley, I was guessing.
I spent 3 years in the Kimberley, and it's hard to describe the Kimberley. There's something there that when you get there, you just feel something. You know, this beautiful red sandstone and these gorges and these rivers and these waterfalls and this connection with the art and the Aboriginals to the land. It's really, and the natural phenomena that take place there as a result of these big tidal changes, Montgomery Reef and horizontal waterfalls. It's really exciting.
So the tidal change is up to 12 meters, isn't it? Yeah. I was
it's
there.
huge.
And the Montgomery Reef.
Yeah.
It looks like sieht aus wie ein UFO, wenn es aus dem Wasser kommt. Weil es kommt nicht aus dem Wasser, sondern das Wasser geht runter. Und man denkt, so das ganze Riff kommt aus dem Meer hinaus. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a perception. It kind of looks like the water. Looks like because the reef's coming out. Looks like the reef is coming out the water because it's going so fast, as opposed to the water dropping. Yeah. It's a bit of a visual.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So what did you do in 3 years' time in the Kimberleys?
So I was working on another expedition vessel.
Leading groups and everything.
Yes, I was working as expedition leader on a small expedition vessel in the Kimberley. And we used to do a full Kimberley season. So we would be there from like May till about September. And so I did that for 3 years. So I've probably done 40 sailings in the Kimberley between Darwin and Broome.
Yeah. Cool,
I loved it.
I understand.
It's a special place.
Yeah, it's a special place.
Yeah,
of course,
it really is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Robin, it was very nice talking to you. Thanks for the conversation.
Absolute pleasure.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and then thank you for everything.
Yeah, and good luck for the next season.
Yes, thank you so much.